I'll be short. Plan B, what is it? That's what I'm here. Hopefully I'll hear you discuss it tonight because you've got that meeting. The Oshawa Port Authority has that meeting tomorrow night, and it would be nice to hear if you've got some plan of action. You had one plan that didn't fly, and about the item that I sent in, have you looked at the resolution?
Yeah, it's a delegation. It's not really questions.
I know.
Okay.
I'm just asking, so hopefully if there's a discussion here tonight, and I really hope there is, because there's a lot of people out there that are working hard on this from the community, and now they're asking, are they spinning their wheels? Because they need to see something happening here from the city. You're party to the contract with the settlement agreement, and in that settlement agreement there is a dispute resolution, and I know that other port authorities, I think it might have been brought to your attention in Nanaimo, they have a relationship with the city to come up with a better relationship with their port authority based on the rules that they've come. But actually I had something to hand out and before I started, and I'll leave it with the clerk, and if you want to look at it later in the evening if you have time. It's basically a timeline on what's happened with the ethanol plant since 1966, when 61 acres of harbor land was given to the Crown, and then in 2006 when you initiated your lawsuit based on that proposed rail spur. And it's just going through, and you read it and you see the role of the city and the role of the region, and you wonder what's happened. At this point, you know, you've been focused on maybe some things that I'm thinking there's got to be another way of looking at this, and I'm hoping that you will have something to come out of this meeting tonight, so all those people that are going to that meeting tomorrow will have heard from the city something a little bit stronger. Thank you.
Councillor England?
Rosemary, is it my understanding that there are people in the audience that would like to speak to council tonight about the ethanol plant?
Yeah, that was what I was hoping would happen with that waiver of waiver of the rules that came through with my request to speak tonight. And I didn't realize it would just be limited to just me, because I understand that there are a number of people that are waiting to hear a little bit more from the city. You know, this has been over a month now, and you went down one road, it didn't lead anywhere, and hopefully there's something more that you have to say. And I think the public is behind what, you know, the idea is, but they just need to see a little bit more.
Thank you.
Councillor Diamond.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have a concern that you're making it sound as though the city doesn't want to hear from people, as though we're on opposite sides. The bad guys in this scenario would be the Oshawa Port Authority and the people who appointed them. We're on the same side, and we will be fighting as hard as we can in every way possible to stop that facility. So I ask you, will you join with the city, not make it look as though we are enemies in this?
I'm not sure that I've made you look like an enemy. I'm just asking for you to be a little more vocal with something a little more tangible, that now that you're in a situation where Plan A failed. And tonight, I think, is the most appropriate time to talk about what you're going to do, so there's something that the public can work from.
You have defined one action as Plan A. Council never defined it as Plan A.
As a question, please.
Just rephrase it to be, would it not be your interpretation that that was Plan A? Do you have anything to say that that was Council's? I haven't.
August 23rd, when you made that your plan to go after the way you did.
An action.
An action. Since then, you've asked for more information through the FOI process. But other than that, there's nothing that the residents have seen or heard.
Have you seen press releases? Have you seen the banner on the city's website? Have you seen His Worship's vehicle? Have you seen participation in television shows? Have you seen quotations in the newspaper? Have you seen some other indicators, perhaps?
Well, there's certain things that will be effective, and there's certain things that, you know, are nice to see. And that's why I'm here tonight, is to be asking to see what you're doing that can be effective. Have you, I wrote into this council and asked, have you written to the Minister of Transportation, Minister Lavelle, and have you written to the Minister of Finance asking them to step in? Actual letters, specific. I haven't seen that come out of council.
That's a given. Okay, I think what I'm asking you is to recognize that we are on the same side, and that I would ask that you participate tomorrow evening as a concerned citizen, voicing the concerns of individuals, and that I can assure you that council will be doing the rest. So I'll ask, will you be able to participate as a concerned citizen as opposed to a critic of council?
I'm sorry if you think that I'm a critic of council. I'm here to encourage you.
Will you participate as a concerned citizen?
Councillor Diamond, I will be in attendance, but the way I understand it, I don't know if the public will actually be able to participate. The way I read it, it's an information session. The OPA and Farm Tech will be doing a sales pitch on what's going on there.
Will you do everything you can as a citizen, and the question will go to council as well with the same question?
Well, actually, Councillor Diamond, I have been, you know, the evening of the August 23rd meeting, several of us were out serving corn outside with a rally.
Thank you, Your Worship.
I'm sorry, you were cutting me off. I am participating.
Just asking for an answer to the question.
Okay.
And so thank you.
Okay. Councillor Wood and then Councillor Pidwerbecki.
Thank you very much, Rosemary. I'd like to hear the rest of that answer.
Tomorrow I'll be attending at the Region Planning Committee and trying to find out really a little bit more about what the region's doing. I mean, they passed a motion, but really at the local level, the citizens, you know, really we only have you to come up to and speak directly to. Yes, Ottawa is a big key player. The province, you know, yeah, but here we are the night before a big meeting that you had asked for and that's happening, but we don't know the forum, and I would hope that maybe some people on council tonight will be asking staff, because I understand the city manager is really the liaison with the board over there, what is the forum for tomorrow night's meeting, so we can be prepared, because there are people preparing questions, but are they going to be able to ask them? Are we just going to be sitting there listening? Do we have to have questions written and submitted prior? I don't know. And are you going to be able to participate as will all council be there? Is there a restriction on how many of you can attend tomorrow night? I'm sorry, Councillor Diamond, were you asking something?
Okay. Actually, Councillor Wood has the floor. Councillor Wood?
I'll do my best over here. Thank you for your, you bring out some interesting points, and indeed you touched upon.
Councillor Wood, question?
Thank you. You touched upon one interesting point that I wanted to query you on, and that was with regards to, you're saying that we, the city, is aware of the process, and I don't know that to be the case. Have you heard anything or inquired into the process for tomorrow night's information session at the Quality Inn at 7 p.m. by the Port Authority?
I'm just going on what Bruce MacArthur had said to you on August 23rd, that he anticipated it would be information sharing and then question and answer, but then talking with a number of people in the community, they didn't think so. They said all previous meetings related to the harbour were pretty much not open for public questions. And the one I attended at the Jubilee Pavilion in July 2010 didn't allow for any questions. So I don't know. And
would you agree then really any further talk at this point in time until we hear from the source of who is in control of the process, that is the Oshawa Port Authority, is really superfluous at this time?
Yeah, I was just thinking that you might be asking your city manager if he has some idea how it's going to proceed tomorrow night, and if you're able to deliver a message at that time, that kind of thing, like a discussion.
I couldn't agree more, and I will ask that question later. One other question for you. Do you believe, and you are aware of, that Oshawa, the city of, has absolutely no jurisdiction on what happens at the federal lands down at the harbor? In particular, I don't know, say the federal government were to want to put a naval base down there, there's absolutely nothing that the city of Oshawa can say or do about that.
Well, I've looked at, you know, federal agencies and municipal boundaries, and, you know, understand that it is a pretty overwhelming power that they have. But I've also heard at the meeting that you had with Thomas Mulcair, he says that you don't put a veil around. He said if you were to have something go in at the Montreal port, that there's a definitely a point at which they can't get away with everything that they want. So,
well, I'm not aware of anything that was discussed with Mr. Mulcair because I was not privy to that information. But notwithstanding that, from the best information that we've had, you're aware that the best information that we've had from our legal is that there's absolutely nothing that we can do to deal with the federal government's Oshawa Port Authority under its jurisdiction. And what I'm asking you, would you be supportive of monies being spent by the city supporting this on a go-forward basis now, or not?
The city has lawyers on staff, and I know you're getting in your reports statements that there's nothing you can do, but I'm
That's
thinking,
correct.
If you're at this point, who negotiated this so that you're at that stage? Like, where are the questions being directed? Obviously, if you're at this stage where you've said and known for so long you didn't want it, there's some kind of incompetence somewhere. And, you know, where do you direct?
Rosemary.
I'm sorry, you didn't like that word?
No, particularly,
okay.
no.
Without being critical, at what point do you say, who's to blame? Why are we in this situation? Who do you ask? You direct all your blame at the Oshawa Port Authority, or do you start looking and saying, I mean, this, what I'll hand
Maybe
out
this
tonight.
is where we differ, is that I see this as a federal government issue.
It's a question, Councillor Wood.
And would you not agree that this is a federal government issue and not a city, and that would be therefore be under the jurisdiction of the federal government on federal lands?
Well, I just know that you've been against an ethanol plant at the harbor for a long time.
That's correct. We've all voted for that.
Yeah. At what stage did you lose control?
Well, I don't know, again, whether it's control, or my question to you is, do you not see that the city's position now is extremely limited in what it can and cannot do? Are you aware that there will be some of us tomorrow from council going to this meeting to find out information because we just don't have it?
Yeah, well, you know, what you can do, I think, is to create such support among the public that there is an outcry, that it is, like at this point, it's political, that if you can get that kind of support where the people that are involved at the Oshawa Port Authority and the federal government are going to pay attention. But you can't get the public on board if they're not hearing from you. And the only time we heard was August 23rd. And there was that one report at the last council meeting. But, you know, the signs on the website, yes. And
just so you understand that they have been hearing from some of us, and I'm wondering if you're aware that the message that we've been asking of the federal government is not that we're looking to go to war with them, but we're looking for jobs here in Oshawa. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Pidwerbecki.
Worship, and thank you for being here again tonight. Just a couple of things you mentioned, and I may have to direct this to His Worship. You mentioned about letters that were sent. I ask questions quite simply. I think you're aware of the number of questions I've asked over the years. And I did ask the question about how many letters we have sent to our MPs or MPPs, to the different departments in the Federal House requesting for information.
It's questions.
And the question may go directly to you, Your Worship, and I've asked this question. Would you believe that our MPPs and our MPs have never, and I stand to be corrected, have never replied to one of our letters? So when you ask, what are we doing? I'm wondering, have you ever asked your MP what he is doing, or the two of them? We have the Honourable Jim Flaherty, we have Dr. Colin Carey, who represent us. Have you maybe taken it upon yourself, like some have and some haven't, but we wish there were more? Have you ever taken it upon yourself to ask them about that?
In fact, I have. I ran into Colin Carey at a function at the hospital a week and a half ago, and I gave him an earful, as you know I can well do. And I said, why are you ducking this issue? And he said he was not. He has been very vocal about his position. I asked him if he'll be at the public meeting tomorrow night. At that time, the date wasn't announced, but he said he'll be in Ottawa. And I said, well, it's going to be an evening meeting. Can't you get in to town from Ottawa for that evening? It's important. He said he'd see what he can do. It was not a long conversation, but I did tell him that I don't believe that the ethanol policy of the government is right, that it's almost antiquated now. Does that answer your question?
So he said he was doing a lot for us. Is that what you gained out of that conversation?
He said he had done a lot. He mentioned the Crombie report. He mentioned quite a bit that I didn't know at the time. So I did a little more research, and I put together this timeline. And I thought, you know, when I look at it, and it's just from the point of view of what the city's done and what the region's done. And up until this point, you know, it's a problem. Oshawa has a problem right now. How did they get there? How did you get there? And what are you doing about it?
Well, let me ask you this question. When you have two well-respected MPs representing the city of Oshawa, again, the Honourable Mr. Flaherty, Jim Flaherty, and Dr. Colin Carey, who seem to have abdicated their representation of the taxpayers of the city of Oshawa and the region. You are aware that there was a motion passed several years back supporting Oshawa's position about having an ethanol plant on the waterfront here in Oshawa. Are you aware of that?
Yeah,
the region.
At the region. That wasn't several years back. That was last year.
Okay.
And that's when I started thinking, you know, really, we've arrived at this rather late at this point.
So my question was, with these two people who are supposed to be taxpayers' representative and have abdicated their position with the taxpayers, what do you think this council or the taxpayers of Oshawa's position should be with these two MPs? What should we do? Would you have some idea?
When I look at it, and I'm an outsider, I'm not right in your chair and you're looking at it from that inside. And I'll tell you, I see, if you're wanting to point the blame in that direction, I would point the blame here too. Sorry, you don't like to hear criticism. You know, most people don't come here to compliment you all, you know, unfortunately. I think you do a good job. I think you work hard. But on this particular issue, just pointing the finger at Ottawa, I'm sorry, it becomes almost a blame game that's a little embarrassing, because when I look at the timeline here of what's happened, this city knew there was a chance of this ethanol plant from 2006, the same time you entered your lawsuit. And to be here in 2012, 6 years later, and to see 5 years where you didn't do anything. You didn't have a resolution. I'm sorry, but those are
my
the facts.
question was, when we have two MPs who are representing the city of Oshawa and Durham Region, and we have motions that have been passed with regard to not having an ethanol plant put on the shorelines of Oshawa at the harbor area, and they abdicate even talking or even not even replying to letters. What should we do and what should the people do? Because you're always pointing at the city of Oshawa. My question to you would be, if you have this kind of representation, what should the taxpayers in the city of Oshawa and the people in Durham Region who are opposing this ethanol plant, what should they do? And what are they doing and what are you doing? What should be being done outside of the city of Oshawa, this council being done?
Well, I've made this council aware of what I've done. I started to tell Councillor Diamond about the rally. I've also copied you and been very transparent. I've written both Minister LaBelle and Minister Flaherty.
We have two. We have many occasions, yeah.
But I haven't seen a letter from council since August 9th. Sorry.
Okay, so my question again is, what do you think the citizens, the taxpayers of the region and the city of Oshawa should do in order to help with this ethanol issue, since we've been bogged down a bit with not getting any transparency, not getting any replies to letters, not getting any cooperation whatsoever? What then should the taxpayers do?
Well,
you as a taxpayer, what should you do?
I've been trying to do a lot, and I'm here tonight because I'm trying to do something.
What should other taxpayers do? Have you got an answer for that? Who are opposed?
Councillor Pidwerbecki, Ms. McConkey, I recognize your efforts on the issue, and I know that Rosemary has mobilized, especially her circle of friends.
And that's fine, and I'm wondering...
But I don't want this to be a cross debate or...
No, and the one question I want to ask is, what should other people who feel that they are against the ethanol plant, what should they be doing as taxpayers in the city of Oshawa and the Durham region? Would you have an answer for that?
Well, why I'm here
my answer, my
is what I would think other people are doing. Not physically here, but maybe watching on TV or following in the papers. They're looking to their leaders. So I'm asking you to lead, I'm sorry, on this issue more, stronger. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Any other member of council? Rosemary, in fairness to council, I'm going to enjoy reading your timeline, and after I compare it to my timeline, I'll send you the story that I've discovered that members of council will get shortly. That this entire process was done without any knowledge of our staff. That during the entire bargaining period with taking over the lands on the west side of the harbor, that staff repeatedly raised the issue about, so did you know that our staff was not informed when they asked the questions?
I understand that the previous council gave staff direction to negotiate. And if you're saying that your staff were not informed that they could talk about the ethanol plant issue, I'm surprised because...
Did you know they raised the issue on numerous occasions? And the answer was that ethanol wasn't part of the package. That nobody would... Did you know that it was never during the discussions?